This tutorial is for 5th grade, Module 4, Lesson 23. In this lesson, we're going to continue looking at scaling factors, and this time we're going to see how they affect decimals. The first section says fill in the blank using one of the following scaling factors to make each number sentence true. I have 3 choices in the box. I have one decimal that's greater than 1, another decimal that's less than 1, and a final decimal that's equal to 1. If I look at the first problem, it says 3 4/10 times some number will give me an answer that is equal to 3 4/10. Well, that has to be the decimal that is 1 whole. If I take a number, multiply it by 1, I get the same number I started with. So I've used my 1 whole. The next question says some number times 21 hundredths will give me an answer that's greater than 21 hundredths. In order to get that answer that's greater than 21 hundredths, I need to multiply it by a number that's greater than 1 whole. My first decimal is greater than 1 whole, so I'm going to use that one. 1 21 thousandths times 21 hundredths would give me an answer greater than 21 hundredths. And in the final question, I have 8 4 hundredths times some number will give me an answer less than 8 4 hundredths. That has to be a number that's less than 1. And my remaining decimal is 989 thousandths. That is less than 1. When I multiply it times 8 4 hundredths, I will get an answer that's less than 1. In the next section, I need to sort the expressions according to the column headings on the table. The first one says the product is less than the boxed number. The second one says the product is greater than the boxed number. The product is the answer to the multiplication problem. In order to get an answer that's less than the number I started with, I need to multiply it by a number that is less than 1. In order to get a product that is greater than the boxed number, or the number I started with, I need to multiply it by a number that is greater than 1. So I'll keep these in mind as I work through the expressions. Here I have 13 89 hundredths. I'm multiplying it by a number that's greater than 1, so it would fit in this box. For question B, I have 602. I'm multiplying it by a number less than 1, so it will fit in this box. For question C, I have 102 3 hundredths times a number that is greater than 1, so that will fit in this box. It'll give me a product bigger than what I started with. In question D, I have 3/10. I'm multiplying it by 69 thousandths. I'm multiplying it by a number less than 1, so I'm going to get an answer that is less than what I started with. So we'll put D in this box. Here I have 72 hundredths. I'm multiplying it by a number greater than 1, so I'll end up with an answer that's greater than 72 hundredths. And in my final question, I have 2/10. I'm multiplying it by 1/10, which is less than 1, so I will end up with an answer that's less than the number I started with. In the next section, I'm going to think about the size of my products, and I'm going to write one of the phrases that shows how the expression compares to the number on the right. For example, if I have 4 times 988 thousandths, well, this number is less than 1. So I know my answer is going to be less than 4. If it were 1, it would be equal to 4. 988 thousandths is just slightly less than 1, so I'm going to say that my answer is going to be slightly less than 4 because it's pretty close to 1 whole. For the next problem, I have 1 5 hundredths times 8/10, and I'm comparing it to 8/10. Well, 1 5 hundredths is slightly more than 1 whole, so my answer is going to be slightly more than 8/10. In the next question, I'm multiplying 1,725 times 13 thousandths. Well, 13 thousandths is a pretty small number, so my final answer is going to be a lot less than 1,725. In my last question, I have 989 and 1,000th times 1 and 3 thousandths. Well, 989 is a pretty big number, so that means I'm going to end up with a number that is a lot more than the 1 whole and 3 thousandths that I started with. In the last section, it says complete the following statements, then use decimals to give an example of each. So I have some number A times B will give me an answer that is greater than A, and that will always be true when B is blank. Well, if I'm going to get an answer that is greater than A, or the number I started with, then B has to be greater than 1. So we'll put greater than 1. An example, using decimals, I could say A is 5/10. If I take it times 1 and 5/10, a number greater than 1, I will end up with an answer that is greater than 5/10. Likewise, if A times B is less than A, that will always be true when B is less than 1. That will give me an answer that's less than what I started with. And an example here could be 5/10 times 2/10. That will give me an answer that is less than 5/10. And again, the purpose of the lesson is to see how the product changes compared to the scaling factor of the original multiplication problems.